Welcome to another episode of the Color and Cannabis podcast. This week, we're very excited to have Isaac
Altamirano.
Thank you, because I was going to mangle that, of 1111, someone else who I work with the Equity Trade Network, who has an amazing business and a beautiful story of how they got to where they are. So we're very excited to have Isaac here with us today. Hello, Isaac.
Hey, how are you, Taryn?
Excellent, excellent. Super glad to have you here. Tell us a little bit about 1111. Like, I know a little bit that you work in the event space, but tell us more about what your business does and how
Yeah. So we, as I was talking before the podcast, we started as a delivery service with a different name and everything, but as part of a way of making ourselves relevant and embed ourselves in the community, we started a somewhat of a event hybrid model with our delivery service. Mm-hmm. The location where we did this originally was 1111 7th Street. So we turned that into our branding and we turned that into our identity. Mm-hmm. Eventually what we ended up doing after different battles with consumption in the city of Sacramento, we ended up moving our operation to the Delta. And now we currently have a micro business. So we still do the retail delivery to a certain extent, but we mainly focus on distribution, manufacturing, like non-volatile manufacturing and gummy manufacturing, hash rolls, and different things that we distribute and produce. So everything's kind of handcraft or small batch, not necessarily like a huge production of anything. So we have a selective menu of things that we do.
Excellent.
Yeah.
So when you were doing events, how many events were you doing a year? Were you doing a lot of events?
Yeah. So we had a good run. We had a run that lasted almost 2 years, and we were to the point and we were doing about 20 or so events per month.
Wow. That's a lot.
It's a little over 250 events that we did in Sacramento. None of them were necessarily like a old fashioned 215 sesh where you could find like turkey bags and things like that. It was more of like a community center for consumption to take place and for people to actually gather, mingle, and have common things like cannabis in this case, right? So we also wanted to promote consumption publicly.
Yes.
So we pushed the envelope. We partnered with a landlord that actually gave us permission to consume.
Nice.
And that was kind of like a barrier that we had when the regulators, code enforcement, DCC, the Office of Cannabis Management in Sacramento, when everybody came at us, we were able to kind of blanket ourselves with our landlord permission, and we kept it private. Eventually, the city changed the city code. We fought. We were on the news. A whole bunch of things happened. Our compromise win was that they allow now consumption for dispensaries, storefronts, on site only, which for us was better than nothing. We were okay with that as opposed to nothing at all.
Yeah.
And then we pivoted. We parted ways. We had a bad taste with the way the city treated us, the way the city treated some of our operator fellows, and how they lied about how they could get in trouble for just partnering with us. So lots of our sponsorship fell and a lot of different things that we had in order to sustain the overhead at a venue in downtown. So what we ended up doing was we set shop at the Delta, and then we moved about an hour away from home. We'd commute a whole hour or so. We take a couple ferries to go to work sometimes when the bridge is closed. But we're happier there in the sense of like we have a little bit more freedom. The city of Rio Vista, where we are, is a very small city. Government is not overbearing in terms of like checking on you every day or like listening to the smallest complaint and they come and check on what you're doing. They're more like, you're adults, do what you got to do. We'll be here.
It's unfortunate that Sacramento took that angle because the illegal sessions are such a big deal. And for those who don't know, a sesh or a session is an informal, almost like a flea market or informal market that people come together and sell cannabis outside the regulations. So it's an illegal event and they happen everywhere. Right. And it's a big issue of the brands, the legal brands that are paying taxes are losing money or market share to these illegal operations. And the cities aren't doing a good job of enforcing those, but they are running around enforcing the small legal businesses. Right. So it's like, if you stay illegal and then you sell it in these illegal ways, you can make a lot of money. If you're trying to be legal, they're all over you. Right. So someone who's doing an event that mimics the illegal event, but are actually doing it in a legal compliant way that's supporting the government, that's supporting the tax structure, the tax base. You think that that's what they would want to support, but instead they drive you away and there's more illegal sessions and it just doesn't help anybody. Yeah,
it got to the point where we were doing all those hundreds of events that we were doing. We got to the point that when we first met the sergeant, when we first met the fire chief and all of them, it was more of like, we're coming after you, we're coming after your children. By the time all these events took place, the sergeant that was in charge of that beat in downtown told OCM to say, "I'm not going back there." I said, "They're not breaking any rules.
Yeah.
I'm not."
Yeah, it's a waste of his time.
He never came back. He never brought any more police officers. That just fire department were the only ones coming, and the fire chief put somebody in charge of us. And this person was the coolest person. Like, "Hey, I'm coming this day. You know,
have your shit right."
Yeah. And I'll be like, "Yeah, come on in. We'll be having a full consumption event, and fire will come and leave." And I think the city didn't like that we went about to do our own process as opposed to waiting for their process to take place. Yeah. And the problem with the city is that they get caught up with the letter of the law as opposed to the spirit of the law. And small operators that don't have the money or the time to wait for them to come up with something get lost in translation, and we don't ever get to do anything unless we actually push the envelope to do it. And at the end of the day, we ended up looking like somewhat villains. I remember last Halloween, we had a Halloween event that we were going to do in Sacramento. The city went to investigate a dispensary because we did a drop of our products there, thinking that we were going to consume there or something. Like, they're like disconnected. They think that we were this machine that does illegal shit. And at the end of the day, they went to the venue where we were going to have the Halloween event to try to stop it, but we had already heard that they were coming. So we switched the venue, and we still had our event, which was like, nobody was selling anything. It was more of like people showcasing their stuff, and like we were making pizzas, and people was dressed up, and we were smoking each other's weed, and we're having a good time. And, you know, the artists are all of our friends, and it's like, it's a community gathering, and we promote what's good for everybody, not just for our industry. And that's what gave us a bad taste in our mouth. I don't want to give my taxes to a city that lip services and tells us that this is what they care about, but when I'm all about that, they're not all about that themselves. You know what I mean? They only want the players that have the money, or the lawyers, or the things that they care about in order for them to have a participation. And that's why we left.
They want the money, but they don't want the community. They don't want the culture.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a shame.
Yeah, or they want a culture that's manufactured to their narrative.
Yes, absolutely.
You know, so they want to be part of it, but it's all nip-tucked. And at the end of the day, the culture they're receiving is watered down, and it's not really authentic. Yeah. And it's a Chipotle BS instead of the taco truck. Exactly, you know what I mean? Or Myra's food at home. You know what I mean? It's not the same. Yeah.
So we're going to kind of get into actually how you got into the business, but let's just start, like, where are you from? How'd you get started? Where was your childhood? All that kind of good stuff.
Yeah. So I'm originally from Panama. I came here when I was a young teenager. And my dad is from Chile. My dad's a Chilean. And my mom passed away recently, but she was Panamanian too. Searching for the American dream, you know, I've always had a passion for cannabis, even when I was a little kid in Panama. Like, I smoked what now people call Panama Red, that red weed. You know, we had those big colas rolled up on newspaper growing up in the 90s, smoking that, and through high school, and then eventually getting in trouble and things like that, but nothing fancy. And then eventually moved to the States.
How old were you when you moved to the States?
17 and a half,
wow.
Almost 18.
You were really old enough to appreciate the difference in the cultures and what it took to actually get here.
100.
Can you tell us a little about your story about how you got here, how your parents came here? What was that?
So my dad was in the Chilean Air Force during the war in Vietnam. The Chilean Air Force was trained in the Panama Canal bases by the Americans, and my dad was able to work with the military and things like that. And eventually, he was able to have papers, you know, to come back and forth and stuff like that. And eventually, my sister, I'm the youngest of four. My sister's almost about 10 years older than I am, and I'm about to be 45. So there's a generation in between my two other siblings and her. She first moved here in the 80s, college and all that. I came here for college. I ended up dropping out of college. Weed and skateboarding were more important to me. But we were able to, when we migrated through visas and planes, you know what I mean? As opposed to my wife's family, you know, they migrated on foot, you know what I mean? And cross rivers, and, you know. But at the end of the day, it's, we come from a different world, and we just didn't assimilate, but we also embrace who we are and what we are here as well. So
were you excited to come here to the States at 18, or were you kind of like, I don't want to leave home, my friends are here?
I was excited. All my skateboarding heroes were from San Francisco and Los Angeles. You know what I mean? So it's like I was all about it. And I have friends that during the same time left to either China or Europe or like Spain, Germany, and they're pilots and dentists and doctors. I'm not, but we're still connect, you know. And it's kind of cool to see where some of us, a group of us, left, and the rest stayed, and then we still have good family and friends connections down there, and then. You know, they appreciate the Cali weed and all that.
So what was it like at 17 or 18 coming here? Did you immediately find like a community that embraced you, or did you feel like an outsider for a period of time?
Yeah, no, it was rough. It was rough. I came, Panama is very inclusive. There's all ethnicities, all languages, everything in there. So when I first came to the States as a very young person, I moved with my sister who had already been here for almost 10 years. And I moved to Texas.
Wow.
And I actually lived in Texas for a few years, and I met my wife. My children were born there. It was not inclusive. It was rough. Yeah. And I kind of grew a thick skin, and I thought it was normal, you know, to have some racial comments or not even, because the blunt people that are racist, they're cool. Like, they're racist, just whatever, bro. They'll even open your door. Yeah. It's the people that say they're not racist, but they condescend to you because your accent makes them think that you don't understand their language, for example. Just this one example, right? So that was a little struggling thing. Yeah. I went to college in Utah, and I went to jail in Utah 5 times because weed in those days is there. It was terrible, which now fast forward, Utah has medicinal cannabis and dispensaries, and in Texas, they're still raiding people. Yeah. So it's... You know, the Mormons put their shit together before the Texans did. Yeah. But after all of that, I went through, not to get into too much detail, I went into a really bad time in my life, you know, bad drugs, dropped out of college. I had some friends that committed suicide. I was just in a really bad spot in my life. And luckily, I come from a good family. Like, my mom and my dad were married for 52 years until she passed away, you know. So, and they came and intervened me, and they had not seen me in like 6 years. I was at a Japanese restaurant's kitchen doing dishes with long hair, looked like Jesus, and I was barefoot because I was addicted to hard drugs. And they kind of took me out of there, and it took me from Utah back to Texas, and I cleaned up cold turkey. I had a lot of warrants that I took over long distance and things like that. And eventually I met my wife at a workplace in Texas, and we actually just turned 18 years married on June 2nd, so not too long ago.
Congratulations.
Yeah. We have a couple stepchildren. We met, she already had 2, but we have 4 total.
Nice. And
I've been a dad since I met her, and it's been the best things ever happened to me, to be honest. It's actually kept me on point and to be better. I come from like an intellectual home. My mom had PhDs, and my sister and all my brothers all college graduates, and I'm the one that dropped out. I'm the one that fucking went to jail. I'm the guy that's always rolling blunts and joints and shit. You know what I mean? So it's like, I feel like I kept it real to myself and why I wanted to do these things. And later, you know, we were talking about ancestry, DNA, family history, and then I was trying to figure out, why do I love weed so much when some of my siblings don't even care for it, and my parents like grew up like the most straight edge parents ever. And my dad talked to me about 5 years ago when I first started this cannabis thing in California. My dad was telling me about how his dad, his grandpa, were hemp farmers, and I'm pretty sure it was cannabis or, you know, whatever it was, but he remembers hippies coming from the capital in Chile to come and pick up like whatever leftovers they had and shit. And like he kept that from me this whole time. Like, I'm going to jail. You're finding me with weed, and you're not telling me that this has been running in my blood. Yeah. Like, I'm trying to figure out who the fuck, you know? So we had a really funny conversation because, you know, they come a long way. Before my mom passed, this is a woman that thought that we destroyed my life and destroyed hers.
Yes.
And by the time she was here with, like, I took her to, you know, to my facility and everything. Like, she was really proud of me. And
It's beautiful.
this thing's like finally full circle. So
Yes.
I don't have that trauma that's like my parents hated what I did. It's like, it's actually, they're proud of me being true and passionate about what I really care about, regardless of what society really wanted me to put under. You know, it's like, what kind of box do you want to fit in? And if you don't do this, you're not going to be successful. And not that we're successful in the cannabis industry with the current affairs, but
Yes.
it's a labor of love and it's passion, and we do it because of that. You know?
Absolutely. So what prompted the move from Texas to California?
Weed.
Yes.
Yeah, weed. So we came here about 10 years ago. I used to grow weed in my house.
Texas?
In Texas,
Wow,
yeah.
that's
so
scary.
It's scary as fuck. One friend tells another friend, and all of a sudden, then the friend that knows the guy that works for the feds or for PD, whatever, all of a sudden you get fucked, right? So, because that's Texas. They're happy to snitch on you.
Excited.
They're ready to snitch on you, no matter who it is. So it's, I ended up picking up with Myra. We left. It was a long and a hard move. Luckily, she had a job with Wells Fargo, and they gave her like a couple of weeks of paid time off, and they gave her a bonus to transfer because she applied for a better position out here in Sacramento, and they gave it to her.
Nice.
When we got here, I couldn't keep any of the jobs that I had in Texas. I had to just do Uber, and I worked at a wrecking yard, and I got a job at a different call center that was just calling people to see if they wanted siding in their home. But, you know, we had the kids to feed, and we had bills in California. Coming from Texas, it's truly an uphill. So, like, our cost of living tripled for the same lifestyle.
Yeah.
But all because of weed. So we're like true refugees of the war on drugs. Like, we just moved because we couldn't do what we wanted to do with weed there.
No, you're risking losing your kids. I mean, Texas is going to take your life away.
Child Protective Services would have taken my kids to the first plant they would have found.
Yeah.
And, you know, my kids know that kind of, you know, now in kids at the high school, the school's about to be over, say, hey, tell your dad if he has a part-time job. You know, teachers are like, you know, it's a whole different world. And I have no evil bone in me. There's no way I could be deemed a criminal or a violent person or somebody that will harm somebody just because I'm a stoner. Yeah. So at the end of the day, it's all about the money. Where do we want to put our taxes? Where do we want to set our roots? Where do we want to spend our dollars at? And we don't agree with anybody here, and they don't care about us. So we left, and that's why we're here.
So when you first got here, how long between being here and then starting your first delivery company?
When we first got here, we started with the easy stuff, which was really hard. We started with a restaurant, and we didn't have much money, but we had a partner, and we had the know-how. So we ran that restaurant for about 4 years before COVID hit and destroyed it, and we couldn't do that anymore. And then during the pandemic, while we were trying to make sense of the restaurant, the opportunity to purchase an existing delivery license that was just 215 days is like a provisional BCC license with no facility or whatever. You could run it from a closet at home. So we got into that, and then it was right at the very end of Prop 215. And then eventually we ended up grinding, keep doing it. There was no metric. There was none of those regulations.
Good old
DCC
days.
was BCC.
Yeah. They were nice.
Yeah. So we had a taste of Prop 215 for a little while, and then we've been under the fist of the Prop 64 the entire time.
Yeah, no, 64 has been a mess. So how long were you running strictly delivery before you transitioned to delivery and then events as well?
Yeah, so we ran delivery for almost, I want to say since we got in there, all the way until the year 2021, end of 2021, 2022 is when 1111 started. And honestly, it was just a way to market the delivery. How am I going to compete? Weedmaps is charging us $30,000 a month just to have 5 locations because people's bidding $5,000 for the first place or whatever. And we felt like if we engage with the community and we give something to them, asking for nothing in return, that will be money well spent. That will be the best marketing we can do. And actually, it worked. We all the events we talked about, over 250 events that we did in downtown Sacramento, we didn't charge a single person a single dime.
Nice.
It was all either on our backs or on the backs of any sponsors or brands that we worked and collaborated with in order for us to do that for them. And
it's a smart way to do it. Just let people get in the door and see the value instead of just hitting them.
I'd rather pay the rent in downtown than the Weed Maps, for example, which is a tech company and never even grew a fucking plant, and they never roll a single joint. And here they are taxing every single motherfucker who's trying to move in the
taxing
industry.
us out of business.
You know what I mean? So I don't know. People might say what they say about Weed Maps. I just don't fuck with them.
No, it's tough, especially for small delivery services. I have a bunch of friends who have delivery companies, and they felt like they had to use Weed Maps. Like it was unavoidable.
Yeah.
And Weed Maps kind of use that to charge them through the nose for that. And so it's tough. And like I often discount the value of Weed Maps until I travel. Like I was just up in Seattle a month ago, and I was like, "Oh my God, I need Weed Maps really bad."
Yeah.
And then I went to a bunch of dispensaries all around my hotel. I had a blast until I walked past this one that was on Weed Maps that was better than every dispensary I'd went to.
Better.
And then it's like we can't afford what Weed Maps is doing, and so we spend that same money,
100%,
better prices, better
That's what I
store,
do.
and it's like it's a trap. Weed Maps.
Yes,
but, you know.
it is, and that's why they're successful, because they depend on that particular part of their model in order for them to stay in business. You know what I mean? So they lack the people that like education about good clubs and good places gets gatekeeped by Weed Maps. You know what I mean?
It's a shame. And I know for a few years they were doing some good stuff with their money. They were trying to reinvest in our community. They did a lot of stuff with equity businesses, small businesses. I know we were on their platform for free for a while. They were trying to do some outreach for a minute.
That went away.
Well, their bottom line, you know, they start their their board of directors are looking at their income,
their stakeholders, their shareholders. I mean, they want their money at the end of the day.
But the guy who was I forgot the gentleman's name, who was kind of the liaison between the equity world and Weed Maps, he was amazing. And so I hope Weed Maps kind of gets their stuff back together.
Hopefully, I mean, just to put it this way, I have an open tab with Weed Maps, and it's only 1 month behind. You want to guess how much I owe?
Sounds like 30 at least.
Almost 30 bands. That's crazy. For 1 month.
Yeah. And for a small
business. I
business.
told him, cut it off, and they didn't cut it. Oh, here's the bill. You know what?
Yeah.
I'd rather stay in business. Send me to collections. Right now, this is a sink or swim. I'm not going to rob Paul to pay you.
Yeah.
You know, and this is an inflated price, like it or not, whether you know what I mean? So it's like, I don't know. It's
crazy. It's crazy. So, how does your well, you kind of briefly mentioned about how your family's reaction to you being in cannabis. At first, they weren't excited about it, but it sounds like because you're making other lifestyle choices. And then once it actually became a real business for you, the family's attitude changed. Is that true with your wider family outside of just
100%?
Okay,
and even with people that I grew up with in Panama that perhaps are very into prohibition, or perhaps they're misled to think that it's the gateway drug or the lazy person, or you're gonna all that those things, those stigmas are still real because they were so persuasive. It was when things legitimized, when they saw that I uprooted an entire family and moved, and they said, "Why are you doing this?" Because I want to smoke weed and not go to jail. And that kind of like, you're crazy. But then when they see all this infrastructure and the paperwork and all the taxes and everything, like,
real business.
Okay, I respect that, and I gained their respect. I come from a very conservative home, very religious home. You know, Latinos, we're as conservative as it gets sometimes. You know what I mean? They're traditional about family, they're traditional about God, they're traditional about substances or drugs in general, and just breaking that stigma. You know, like, what is your grandparents gonna say, or what's your aunt Leah gonna say, or this and that. I'm like, tell them to come smoke with me if they want to, you know, like at this point I'm living my life, but I never did it out of disrespect, and I never did it out of spite. And I always kept my stonerism in the closet for whoever I needed to, not because I was afraid, but because I respected them so much and loved them so much.
Absolutely.
That the image of me is not a bad one, the one they have in their minds. And I'm okay with playing that image when I'm with them because I love them too. You know what I mean? It's not about defying or saying who. No, I grew up a long time ago. You know what I mean? So, but it's obvious that on social media I'm posting my hash holes and my weed and everything now, and they know that I'm here. They know it's legal here. They know that I've been, you know, they've seen my rants about enforcement and things and the paperwork, the price tags and stuff. So, and also the world has come along quite a bit, and to the point, you know, in Panama, medicinal cannabis just passed like a year ago, and they're doing their thing in this hemp or whatever, but that would have never passed when I was there 3-4 decades ago. You know what I mean? So it's
Have you gone back since then, since you were a kid?
I've been a couple times, but not as much as I want to. It's expensive to go, and food is expensive out there. Think about California, but there. You know what I mean? It's beautiful and all, but I'd rather my family come and visit me. I'm in California. They all want to come to California, so I get my cousins, my uncles, aunts. I get my parents. My dad still comes. He's coming at the end of the month, you know. And
so what's the cannabis culture like in Panama right now? I mean, you mentioned that they have medical now. Is it, when you left, was it fairly common for teenagers to be smoking weed? Was people relaxed about it?
But it's light years away compared to what we're doing here, for example. So it's still very black market. It's still very cartel brick.
Yeah.
If you find good bud, it's because somebody ordered on Amazon a growing kit and they're risking their lives because they can still go to prison for a long time and they're growing some kind bud that way. You know what I mean? So no, there's if people have some fires because it came from some type of legal regulated market.
Okay.
If that makes sense. Even if it came from the trap of that regulated market, it still came from connoisseurs and people like, that's the fire you find there. Somebody had to ship it. Yeah, you know what I mean? So very rare you'll find somebody that can produce and do those things. And there is. It's just that light years away. So the social media has opened a lot of people's eyes and people inquiries and be like, how can I get that? What is that? And it's getting out there more and more and more. So it'll just be a matter of time.
Absolutely.
For sure.
So I know you've had a lot of headaches with the BCC, or DCC now, the Department of Cannabis Control in California. You want to just kind of talk about your history of dealing with them? Because I know, like you said, you came in trying to do it right. You came here trying to do it legal. You wanted to pay your taxes. You got all the licenses. You did everything you were supposed to do to operate a legal, successful business in California. And then bureaucracy comes along.
Yeah.
So want to tell us a little bit of the story of that?
Yeah, and I don't want to be conflagrated or I guess mixed in with somebody that doesn't appreciate or like government just because I have perhaps a level of hatred towards bureaucrats, if that makes sense.
Absolutely.
That you can, both can be true and the same, you know, because overregulation is not good business, period, regardless of your ideology. So our experience at first was normal until we started doing things in the gray area or perhaps pushing the envelope. So for example, when we started doing events, when we only had a delivery license, the events in downtown, we had an investigator that came to audit us and to put us in check, give us notices to comply. This person kind of broke character and said, 23 complaints have been put to your delivery license. Who did you make mad? Like, who are you fighting with? And a lot of different, I don't know. I can only speculate who put complaints. I know customers are not as savvy as putting complaints specifically about events and things like that. So I'm assuming it's either people that perhaps were not content about what we were doing, or perhaps they felt the right that they were supposed to do it first. Competitors, other delivery services that perhaps felt threatened by something that we clearly opened the doors to everybody. Like we had other delivery services come to, or just companies, brands, whoever, like if there was a dispensary that wanted to treat their bud tenders to a good time, the company will say, hey, let's use your spot. Let's bring bud tenders. You know what I mean? And sometimes I wouldn't even use my delivery. It will just be a place, the venue for people to have some type of community engagement. Anyway, that enforcement and I guess my exposure with the city, we showed up on the news and I was abrasive. I was very, I don't want to say rude, but fed up. You know what I mean? So my fed up attitude, I guess, created somewhat of a target over my head in terms of like, what is this guy always doing? What is 1111 doing? And if it's 1111, then it must be something that is going to give us a headache. You know what I mean? So people that associated with us started getting headaches on our behalf. So we just decided to move on. About a year and a half after we moved on to the Delta, which was this last March, DCC showed up unannounced. They came 9 deep. They came with police officer from the local PD. And I wasn't there at the time. I was over the phone talking to Caitlin, who's in charge of, the infusion department. She makes all the gummies and everything there. And she was like, I don't know, you guys don't have an appointment or I can't let you guys in. I have Isaac on the phone. And then one of the guys screams, like, tell Isaac, if you don't let us in, I'll take away his license. And I heard that. I was like, hey, can you put him on the phone? Like, put him on the phone. What's up? I told him, look, what are you talking about? Like, I'm getting out of the shower. I work an hour and a half away. And I'm about to spend my whole day working. What do you want from me? Aren't you supposed to say, no, we don't need an appointment. We can, if you're denying entry, then let me know right now. It's like, look, I'm not denying nothing. Like, it's a very small operation, and I'm somewhat sloppy because I'm a big stoner. So there's a lot of stuff, sloppy shit there, and I'm kind of not ready for you to come in if that's the case. And then another guy stepped in who was the guy that led the investigation and the embargo and all that on our distro side, who to his credit was really cool. Real cool guy. He actually downplayed anything that was anxiety causing or the source of my worries. He told me it's going to be okay type of guy, right? He came to the phone and said, hey, Isaac, if sloppy is all you care about, let me worry about that. It'll be okay. And those were, he calmed down. He knew how to de-escalate. When I met the guy, he had long hair. It looked like he just came out of a surf movie. You know what I mean? So he looked like somebody like I'm comfortable with. Somebody from our culture. And then I eventually was like, all right, go in. They went in. By the time I got there, they had embargo, a few pounds, not everything, a few pound turkey bags that were not tagged properly, sloppy work. And they embargo like a little bit of some wax grams that we were waxing. Gramming, and we didn't create a new tag in progress for those grams. Sloppy work, like I said. I'm sorry. I have a million other things to do, and it is what it is.
The sticker requirements are ridiculous. I work out of a distro. It's like every 5 minutes they're scrambling to get stickers on stuff.
It's stupid. So at the end of the day, I said, whatever. It took him about 6 weeks to take care of all of that. They came back. They lifted the embargo. I had all of the documentation of the tags, where everything belonged, the manifest, the transfers, the invoices, everything. We tagged everything. They made me destroy the thing that was in progress because the batch production log was not to their satisfaction, and
costing you money over some.
And that was what that was the camel that broke the straw that broke the camel's back at that point, because even though it was not that much, that helps me pay for the electricity. That helps me pay for part of the rent. That helps me pay for insurances. That helps me pay for the tax bill. That helps me pay for the stuff that keeps me legal and compliant. And I kind of barked back, and there was communication there was 2 investigators, one in the manufacturing, one in the distro. The distro guy was cool guy, gentleman. The guy was super easy. It was over with. The manufacturing side was a lot more rigorous and perhaps strict. And it got to the point that their policies and what they were asking was more of like insane. So I started asking questions they didn't like. So like, who's your boss? Who's your boss's boss? And who's in charge? And then I started making questions like, and by the way, who's the person that tried to take away my license? And who's the person that decided to bring the police department? Because now I'm not safe, because Rio Vista police still pulls over people for weed. And I could be the low-hanging fruit for them too, now how I am with you guys. Who made those decisions? And who is the person that keeps deleting my emails? And I ended up, because I sent emails. Look, before I moved to California, I worked at a corporate job in Texas.
The train.
Oh, yeah, my bad.
It's a town business. It's a little town business.
No. So before I got into all this, I had a corporate job for about 10 years. And with the corporate job, it's not that I became super educated, but I learned like email etiquette, and I learned how to navigate the white collar world, right? In that sense, right? And my emails look and sound very eloquent when I write them. And then you see me and you're like, oh, that's the guy. Like, but when I write them, you think that some CEO of some company is writing them, right? And I just do it out of my own. And so I always send receipts and those things when it's important, So I keep getting alerts that this person is deleting without reading my emails. And then I come to find out that this person is everybody's boss, the person making the decision to destroy my shit.
Without even investigating.
Right. So I sent screenshots of that to the investigator and the investigator supervisor, who had already heard me screaming on the phone at them. And I said, see, now your girl is deleting my shit, and they're not, if you say this person makes the decision, they're not, in less than 30 minutes, I got an email from this person I accused of deleting my email saying that it must be a technical error with your email. It's like, bitch, my Outlook's been working since like ever.
Yeah.
I know how to use my email client.
Microsoft is going to work. Yeah.
It's going to work.
Yeah.
And it's saying, I have receipts and screenshots showing you deleting this. So, and there were some other discrepancies and grievances I had with the way they came about. Mm-hmm. They even asked me for footage and video of themselves. Mm-hmm. And I turned that in because I escalated. Mm-hmm. And I haven't received yet a notice to comply, which I'm assuming I will get in a few months because they're probably backed up with all the things that are necessarily my responsibility to make sure they're on point with the regulation. Mm-hmm. I'm on it. I'll take care of it. I'm not worried about us getting taken out of business in that sense, mm-hmm. but I'm concerned about how enforcement and regulation comes about to the most, I don't want to say the cliche most vulnerable, but like we're broke. Like we have no money. Like we come from nowhere and like we don't have lawyers to tell you to go fuck yourself. Yeah. We have to deal with you directly. Absolutely. And then we have to learn this shit on our own because we can't even afford a consultant or somebody that is pro at this thing. So all this stuff, the stuff that we've learned it on our own through blood, sweat, and tears. And it fell to the point that I needed, look, you're public servants, enough is enough. Are you going to bully me or or at least you're going to fucking take some of my fight back? Yeah. And
well, it's really important because so many people don't have the wherewithal to be checking their emails, to even have the program set up to know if they're reading their emails. Right. Like, I mean, you started doing things that the average person can't do. And if you're going through all this with them, what does that average person do? Right. How are they approaching this, or how are they being screwed around? So it makes this really important.
Yeah. And I feel like they are getting caught up with the letter of the law rather than the spirit of the law. And whoever is in charge right now of enforcement, either A, doesn't understand anything about our culture, or B, had some type of theater display that he needs to show or they need to show on paper of what they're doing. And we're getting caught up in the bullshit of it. Yeah. So at the end of the day, they didn't even know I was an equity license. When I said that on my complaint to them, they came back saying, oh, we know or whatever. But like, look, the entire time that we're there, our license was provisional. Mm-hmm. And I had been working with the city and with the state to get my CEQA. Don't get me started with CEQA, but CEQA is something that's been in California since Reagan. I get it.
Explain CEQA to folks.
So CEQA is an environmental study that actually gives you an idea of how much environmental impact your business has. How many miles do you drive to go to work? How much water do you waste? How much electricity, kilowatt hours? I mean, you're talking about the grass that grows around it. Everything that you affect with the environment is called a CEQA study. I don't know what the acronym stands. It's CEQA, right? It's an environmental study, right? So the city of Rio Vista already had the environmental study done for all the licenses. Ours was a provisional license. And in order for me to change it to annual, I did the whole process when I first got there. Because, I didn't make a new license. I got into another license. Yeah. And the state, DCC, the environmental division, said, hey, your city now has requested to be CEQA exempt. So now because of that, you need to do a study that will exempt you from the study that was already done. So I called the city. Okay, what do we have to do? The city said, we have our firm and our consultant that does this as a third party. For you, it will be $7,500. And I'm like, what the fuck? Yeah. So I turn around and I tell the state, DCC, it's like, look, they're charging me this much to do a study on why we need to be exempt for the study that was already done. Yeah. Why can you not help me make it sense? I'm an equity guy and I have no money. It's going to throw me out of business. To my surprise, the DCC person came back and said, let me talk to my supervisor. Okay. A week later, the supervisor responded saying, hey, you know what? Answer this questionnaire and we'll do the exemption study for you. And I went like, marvelous.
It's the beauty of communication.
So I'm going through this whole CEQA thing to change from provisional to annual, and then the investigation and the raid comes. So I'm dealing with you guys already, and one hand doesn't know what the other hand is doing, and you guys are like not communicating with each other because I've been working with you guys from day one.
You've been trying to do everything right.
Eventually, they opened up and say, we came here because of different complaints. We have investigation. We have a complaint that your branding looks like other branding. We have a complaint here that you have different companies under one license. And we have a complaint here that, what did they say? That was the most preposterous one. We were taking things from the rec market into the black market and vice versa. Yeah. And I said, okay, all of that, we had the manifest, everything to show. The embargo was lifted. the things that were destroyed were like, it made me so upset. That's why I exploded, because those things, the lab next door did them. I had all the tags and manifests and like the camera video of me jarring them with Ben. Like, and this guy said, no, it's not enough. We're going to have to destroy him. But the person that made that decision to destroy him, because the person that told me to and their supervisor washed their hands, it's not up to me, it's up to this lady, was deleting my emails.
Yes.
See what I mean? Yeah. So that's when I went like, you know what, this is, I don't have the money and the time to survive your bullshit.
Yes.
Because your bullshit costs money.
Yeah.
All this time, all this effort costs money, and you're hurting the little guys that made this shit possible in the first place. Yeah. The war on drug ended because the little guys went and protested, and we did what we had to do, and passion, compassion, and health, and like don't get me started. We forgot about Prop 250. When I first got here, you could go to a dispensary. It's like, man, I'm broke, or like I'm feeling sick or whatever, and they will hook you up. Yeah. Because that's what it was about, and now we're completely forgotten about that, and it's all profits and toys and the Happy Meal. You know what I mean?
I forgot about that too. I used to work at a dispensary in 2012, and we had compassion. Yeah. If you were poor or legitimately sick, there was just free product. And there was a line of people every day who were just getting free stuff 100%. All day, every day. Now, how much? I mean, some of them were super sick, desperately needed. Right. Maybe other people, I don't know. But the reality is, it felt medical. It felt like we had a community around us. And now, since '64, everything's about money. Everything's about taxes. Everything's about margins. There's no free products for sick people. There's no education for people who are using this as medicine. They just changed this from a healing herb to commerce. It's
a commerce now. It's a commodity more than now than a healing cultural thing that's been, with our ancestors, indigenous people all over the world. Cannabis has been used for thousands of years. You know what I mean? It's like, it's not a new thing. It's just, I don't know. It's been an uphill battle. Sometimes I wonder, why am I still doing this? If I would have put all the money and effort that I put into the cannabis industry to a taco truck, a Subway franchise.
Anything.
Are you fucking kidding me? I would have been well off. Right now we have debt. We're not doing well, but we're still trucking because this is our passion. This is what we want to do. And we don't come from money, which is the crazy part. Like, if I were to look at all the money I spent, it's like, how the fuck did I get all of that? Like, how did that even happen? Like, what the, but it's the passion behind it that drives it, and it makes you do things that you surprise yourself afterwards when you look back at the trail you've left. Yeah. So
it's impressive. So what recommendations would you give for small brands who are dealing with the DCC, either before they're having issues or once they're having issues?
Yeah. I will say, dive into the regulation. Like, the regulation is definitely your best friend, because that's what they're going to hold you accountable to, So I will say, if you don't know the regulation well and you don't want to take the time to learn the regulation well, then find somebody that will and put them in that position, or your business is actually going to fail. Yeah. Because the DCC is relentless and they're not going to stop, because it's a lot of money they're getting from us, and they don't ever want that money to end. So if you want to be in the rec market, dive into the regulation, change your packaging, create SOPs, make sure that if you don't know an acronym or if you don't know something, you ask and you get your answers, and you don't let people. Not everybody needs to charge you to give you information. And that's also part of the problem in our industry. There's a lot of people that say, well, I learned all this now, so I'm not going to give out this information unless they pay me. And I got people telling me all the time, why are you telling this to people? Like, why are you telling? Because I don't give a fuck. Yeah. Because we're all going to die. And if I keep gatekeeping the shit, I become the person I hate from the first time. So when we first moved to California, I try to be a butt tender. I applied to 20 dispensaries. Every single one left me on red. Nobody called me back. I went dressed up. I went heady. I went whatever you want to call it. I went in person. I said, I'm ready to learn. I used to grow weed. Anything you need me to say, I said. Nobody gave me a fucking job. I don't know. At the time, perception is not reality. My perception was that they were gatekeeping it. So it gave me more power for me to be like, you know what? I'll get my own kind of a business. And I'll get my own company. And I'll get my own shit. And it's wild. It's been the craziest thing I ever done in my life. It's costing me everything and everything.
Yeah.
So,
but you're doing it.
yeah.
You got your wife here. You got your kids. Sounds like you have a great life. I mean, the work part is definitely a struggle.
Yeah.
But you've built a very impressive life outside of that. You're mentioning that your manufacturer, you have your own products and you have some other brands. So a lot of people only know of like, I'm going to start my own company or I'll start a manufacturer that just makes stuff for other people. But talk a little bit how you navigate your own brand versus collaborating with other people and all of that.
So there's as owners of a business that has manufacturing and distribution, for us, it's really easy to create any brand we want for ourselves. So for us, we just make sure that we get the right sourced material. So from the farms we like or whatever, and we get it done, right? But if somebody, let's say they want to get into the cannabis industry right now, we are to the point in which trying to get a license, perhaps it's not the best strategy for you if all you want is to have a brand. If all you want is to be in dispensaries and if all you want is to have a piece of the pie when it comes...
Town business.
Yep. So if all you want to have is a piece of the pie... Yeah, okay. My bad.
We'll restart it when it goes. Yeah, if you want to have your own license.
Yeah, so if you want to get into the cannabis business, maybe getting your own license is perhaps not the smartest strategy unless you have some serious capital and you know what you're doing. I mean, doing a business is difficult. Doing a business in California is extremely difficult. Creating a cannabis business in California is like beyond the NFL of making businesses happen. So if your interest is just to be recognized, have a brand, if perhaps you've been in the traditional market your whole life and you have a great following, the best thing to do is to partner with a manufacturer and with a distribution company that can actually bring your products into the dispensaries. You will have to source your material from licensed farms and from licensed labs. But I promise you, no matter how awesome your material is in the in the traditional market, you can collaborate and find ways to make or have the same quality of product in the rec market as well. There's plenty of us that are knowledgeable. There's plenty of operators that kill it and they're legal. So it'll just be a matter of finding the right fit, the right partnership, and then you provide what you need to provide for your brand to happen at the cost or agreement that you might have with this company. You know what I mean? White labeling, however you want to call it, but my advice would be, it's like, if you want to start a brand, partner with somebody that already has the licensing, help them keep their business alive, and they'll help you keep your brand wherever it needs to go. Unless you have some serious money and you want to try to lose it real quick, then get yourself a license, pay thousands of dollars in rent and taxes for a long time until you see maybe some fruits, you know what I mean? So, but it's passion.
Yeah.
It's passion.
So talking about some of the things you have here, it looks like you have some flour in bags.
Yeah.
You have some gummies. You have some hash holes, which are joints that are infused with rosin. What's in the box on the very end?
So this is a half ounce of smalls. This is our homie Anthony from We Don't Smoke the Same. We do his distribution. Perfect example. He is under our wing in terms of manufacturing distribution. He sources from very reputable farms, the Fire. And we get it tested from our facility, and then we bag it upon request. So he's in a lot of stores. He's in all the Catalyst stores almost, and PCF stores and everything. So these are his half-ounce smalls. They're inspired by one of his favorite artists, and then his eighths. And then we have our in-house brands, which are back here. We have Midnight Girl, Benzoil, and then the 1111, which we're currently changing the appearance of the 7-Eleven look. Now it's just going to be the 11s. And then we're making gummies. We're making light resin gummies. Eventually we'll have rosin gummies. And we're just testing the market really with something low budget that we can fill in orders for our distro, So
Absolutely.
If the order is $900, we can add a couple cases of gummies and they'll get a whole bunch of gummies, and now it's $1,000. You know what I mean? And it helps us to fill up the wholesale shopping cart for dispensaries, And then we have our prize jewel, which is Marcos, our homie CGO. He's
amazing. I need to get him on here ASAP.
He's a great friend. He's a great family. He's a good guy, and he chose us. He vibed with us, and he said, I want to come to the rec market. What do I do, Isaac? And he's now on his 25th SKU that he handcrafts with his crew. He makes these hash holes that are very popular, and that they never come back. So the pairing that he does on one hash hole, that SKU, that flavor pairing, will never come back. And that's his gimmick. You know, he makes a small batch, something very curated, very nice. And then if it's sold out, you missed it. Yeah. And that's it. And that's a great strategy for him. And I feel like he's doing great things. And we're grateful for him and for Anthony and for the She's Baked team doing our gummies, and Jeremy Forte, you know, providing us with the solventless hash and all the things that he does in behind the scenes with bulk for other operators to have stuff. You know, he's the bulk guy. So we feel like we have a lot to offer, but we have been maybe inhibited a little bit for the lack of resources, the lack of funds, and I don't want to say extreme, but the consistent regulation and oversight. Yeah.
Excellent. So what are your plans in the future? What are the next steps? Where are you guys moving? How are you guys?
Yeah. So our next steps are to have enough production for us to grow. And right now, everybody is an owner of the company in a sense, because we don't really have capital for employees and things like that. So we all own a piece of the pie. But additionally to that, what we're doing is that once we grow enough, we're hoping to really focus on, it's a twofold, right? So we're going to focus on direct to consumer. All the things that we do will have their own website, and consumers will go directly there, and our retail delivery will be able to fulfill that. And then the second part of the strategy is for us to be able to grow with additional brands that are like-minded to us. Craft, mom and pop, I don't want to say words that offend or anything like that, but from where we come from, in the sense of like they can understand and see eye to eye. And this transcends in our culture, and cannabis transcends race and everything. You know, you can meet some white folk that out there that have struggled as much. They had helicopters, zip ties and everything. And then you have people of color that have been, for obvious reasons, been marginalized additionally with the prohibition of cannabis as well. So it's we're just looking for like-minded people that it's down to rock the way we're rocking. And that's our goal, to try to onboard as many mom and pop, small equity or potential equity on paper, but for sure equity people that
small businesses,
that
small legacy folks.
Yeah, legacy folks. Yeah.
Awesome. Are you guys still doing events?
So,
can I come to one? That's all I'm asking. I just want to come. I want to come
yes,
smoke.
the answer is yes. We are never going to stop doing events. We tried doing DCC sanctioned events. We did one in the Yolo County one time. We did one in Stockton the other time. And we didn't bring the people we wanted to bring because these events require a huge production. And we're used to small 100 people, 50 people events that are actually way more meaningful, right? So right now, to not spill the beans too much, we're in the process of having a comeback. We don't know if it's going to be back in Sacramento, because Sacramento is difficult to navigate with. But if we do go back to Sacramento, it will definitely be a different approach, and it will be navigating the existing regulations in the city code and making sure that we don't step on anybody's toes, and that we make it even more inclusive to the community as opposed to just for cannabis, if that were to be the case. But the short answer is yes, and of course you'll be coming.
Hell yeah.
But yeah.
You can be at the state fair?
We were at the state fair last year. This year, I have mixed feelings. I feel like this big operator has completely gatekept any type of participation. Seeing the new diagram for the state fair and where the equity trait number has been tucked in away from the dispensary sales. And look, is the analogy of being in the desert during the sandstorm. You pitch your tent and the camel's outside. And the camel, during the heaviest part of the sandstorm, starting to put the head inside. Little by little, if you don't tell that camel to stay outside, you're going to wake up outside the tent. The camel will be waking up inside. That's how I feel the state fair is happening. Like, we were all there at the beginning. Yes, we make this shit happen. It's historical, this and that. The next year, well, only this many SKUs. It's only us, and we're the only ones that do retail, and we can only if you pay $5,000 to $10,000, and you still can't sell. You're like, you know what I mean? And here I am going like, I understand the regulation, I have the licensing, and I know everything that you're doing behind the scenes because I've done it on a small scale. You're gatekeeping, and I fucking hate you for that. Straight up. You know what I mean? Because if it wasn't for people like us, you wouldn't be where you fucking are right now.
True. Let's do something in the lounge. Let's do something in the lounge. We don't need a big booth.
That's what I'm saying.
We'll do something in the lounge. We'll have a session.
We're going to still go. We're still going to participate. We're not going to instigate anything negative. I just had to get that off my chest.
You got to
know
get
what
it out.
I mean? It's
Get it
like I
out.
feel like this company is a behemoth.
Yeah.
And they have completely bought their way. And Calexpo is, I had an interview with them 3 weeks ago with a dispensary operator, myself as a license holder for an event license, because Sacramento tells us we can only do events at Calexpo. I go through a whole interview with Calexpo and they told me no.
Yeah.
So I can't have an event at the only place I can have an event. City Council, when we fought, said, let's do a pilot for events outside Calexpo for people like Isaac that has his license, haven't been able to use it here. And instead he's doing unsanctioned events. Let's get him something going. Totally under the bus. They haven't given a shit, and they will never give a shit. Yeah. And that's why we left. We're not going to give them our tax monies. And at the end of the day, I mean, if this makes it to the podcast, this particular part of the conversation, I just want to make sure that they know that people bringing all these things to pass at the state fair are gate fucking keeping. And they're keeping this small equity, small mom and pops, the people that make this shit happen completely away from it.
Yeah.
And all they do is give the big products that have all this change that can afford the consignment because they fucking take loans on our product and shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They don't pay for 60, 90 days. Yeah. Fuck those people.
Yeah, I feel you.
Back in our day, you didn't even pay the fucking farmer. You're in trouble.
Yeah,
like, and I come from
only.
owing a lot of money when my first delivery fucked up, and I had partners that left me hanging dry. We had 300 racks worth of debt to vendors, not counting tax liabilities or anything like that. And between Meyer and I, we paid about 280. And there's still about 20K open balances. People hate me that thinks that I don't pay bills, but enough isn't fucking enough. Yeah. Yeah. This wasn't, I didn't even place those orders. You know what I mean? So, and then now you got big operators, no matter whether you're big or not, say, okay, we'll buy your product, but if we don't sell it in 90 days, we'll just pay you for what it's sold. Yeah. So we're not going to pay you for 3 fucking months. And here I am crafting this shit going like, well, fuck you too. Yeah, you know what I mean? So I don't know. I'm going into my disgruntled side of,
it's okay.
of the
it's
bitterness,
real.
But at the same time, it's like we forgot about compassion. We forgot about the small mom and pop. We forgot about the reason why it got legalized in the first place. Yeah. And the fact that I'm not from California has nothing to do with it because I run away from cops everywhere I've fucking been until I made it to California to fucking be able to do what I'm doing right now.
Now you're running from the DCC.
And now I'm running from, yes, exactly. So, but yeah, it's a complex industry. It's a complex issue. The answers are never just black and white. A lot of them should be case by case scenario. Yeah. And there's a lot of gatekeeping, unfortunately, but I'll say that.
Well, it's true. But I mean, we'll fix it by working together. And I'm really excited. I'm really excited to talk to you. We have Timo coming in, nice. Aiden coming in. So many folks who've been directly wrestling with the DCC, and the DCC, to their credit, has been reaching back out, trying to figure out how they can kind of make things better. It's a huge bureaucracy, so we just need to keep working with the people in the department that care to kind of craft regulations that actually make sense for small business. And I think that what you're doing is very important. Your voice is very important in all of that. And so we're super excited to have you here, and look forward to working with you in the future on some stuff. And definitely we're gonna do some sessions, some events together.
Yeah, for sure, bro. Yeah, they're the rock, we're the egg. Yeah. Even if we're right, if we crash a little too hard, we're gonna be the ones being the omelet. You know what I mean? Absolutely. So we just have to work with them. They're not going anywhere. Yeah. So as much as we don't like regulation and we don't like them, if we really want to play by the rules, we just learn the regulation.
So yeah, thank you for coming. I'm super excited to come to your events when they start happening again. And I'm just excited about working with more people in Sacramento. You guys have a really thriving market up there. And as much as the city has been a headache for you guys recently, the market up there is strong. There's a lot of people who love quality cannabis. And so it's an important market to be in. And I'm just thank you for giving people education and supporting, not just on this podcast, but like you were saying earlier, there's not a lot of people who've been through the rigmarole who will give away that information for free. And it's important that as a community that we maintain that community knowledge and we share what we know. So I'm very excited for you sharing what you have here and for the fact that you're sharing with more folks up in Sacramento. Yeah.
Anybody can reach out to me, and I'm not going to gatekeep nothing, man. I'll tell them how it is. I'll tell them the good, the bad, and the ugly, because I wish I had somebody like that when I first got in there. Because I know that we all love cannabis the same way I love cannabis. Yeah. And it's just a disgrace, people trying to make money off of that shit. Yeah,
it's a sad, sad thing.
Fucking sad shit.
So looking forward to smoking, looking forward to hanging out. And thank you. It was a pleasure, brother.
Hell yeah. Thanks, bro.
And thanks, everyone, for tuning in to... I always fuck up the fucking closing. I'm not even going to say what I almost said. Thank you for joining us for Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous. I don't know how that popped in my motherfucking head, but I just was brain farting and I forgot what the fuck we were doing. Thank you, everyone, for joining us for another episode of the Color in Cannabis podcast. Thank you, Isaac, for showing up and sharing your wisdom and your experiences. And thanks, folks, for hanging out with us and looking forward to seeing folks soon. Thank you.
Thanks for having me.